difference, one cup at a time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time, making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time, time.
Well, good morning and welcome to Tea Time. That's right, we are back and we are starting off a whole new month. And I have the incredible Thomas L. Rose in the back of the studio waiting to come and share on grief and mystery. That's right, we're going to do a little bit of speaking on grief and some mystery. We're going to get the secret that's in the pasta. We're going to know a little bit about everything and we're going to do some cooking together, but we don't actually go into a kitchen. We're going to talk a little bit about his cookbooks and all of that good stuff. And if you have any questions or any comments that you'd like to leave them in the comment section or directly send them to Miss Liz in her Facebook page and I will get them out to Tom while we're talking this morning. So before we get started, don't forget to grab your tea, grab your coffee, and grab your breakfast because it's really important that we all start off with our breakfast this morning. So let's get the disclaimer going and then let's get Tom, a little bit on Tom, and then we're going to get Tom in here and we're going to spill you a good TEA this morning with me, Miss Liz. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz myself is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good faith. However, may bring forward dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the giving time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment and taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussions for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It is significant to know that this show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in today's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that the show is not made for you at this time, I respect those wishes and will see you at a later show at a later date and time. And again, all Tea Times this year in 2023 are done on a Thursday, 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If it is not a Thursday, they are a rescheduled show and they will be done on a Monday and a Tuesday. So, getting that all out of the way, let's get a little bit on Thomas. So Thomas L. Rose was born in Peru, Indiana, to Norm and Donna Skin Rose. I hope I'm saying it right. He has two younger sisters, Jacqueline Rose Roberts, she's deceased, and Jill Rose England. The family moved in 1953 from Peru to Goshen, Indiana, where he still resides. He attended St. John's Parcocho School, I'm not saying that right, and Goshen High School. Graduating in 1958, he attended St. Joseph's Ball State and Goshen College. He was married to Joyce Grisson in 1962. Their son Brock was born in 1964. Brock and his wife Rose have a daughter, Amanda Rose McMahon, who with her husband lives in Goshen area. Tom worked in advertising and marketing most of his life and actually still does today with his son. at Rose and Rose Associates. Tom and wife Joyce co-authored two cookbooks, Cooking Together Chinese Style and Cooking Together Quick and Easy. They also hosted a cooking segment on the local Fox TV affiliate for 13 years. During that time, they toured the Midwest teaching cooking classes. After his wife's death, Tom, with the help of his son, he authored a third cookbook, Cooking Together Revisit, which is dedicated to Joyce, with the proceeds going to the family's breast cancer support projects. Tom, along with his family, produced a YouTube cooking show, Cooking Together Generations, to help promote their breast cancer support projects. So let me get Tom in here and let me sip on my tea. And let's give you a good strong cup of tea this morning. So, welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Liz.
It is an honor to have you here, Tom.
Thank you so much.
So, Tom, I want to get into the little boy first, and then the man you are today. I always like to ask that question because I like to see if there's a hidden gem that we carry along in life, just like we do with our teas and we flow our teas. So, how were you as a little boy, and who are you today as a grown man?
Oh goodness gracious! Uh, as a little boy, I was a wild kid. I was not very big, but I was wild. Uh, I figured you had to be tougher since you were littler. You had to act tough, so I did to cover up for the size, I suppose. And I said, I suppose through life that that probably trans transmitted into older life that I did things and I was maybe more aggressive because of what from being a child, being smaller and everything. The last guy picked to play on the basketball team, the last one to play to pick. I got picked first sometimes because I had the basketball or I had the football. But so I think you carry those things through, and maybe later in life some of those things come back in your brain, and you're a little more aggressive about things than you might have been. I'm sure hardly I hardly hear big guys being described as cocky because they don't have to be. If I hear little guys of being cocky, uh, so I guess I was cocky. I was, and I guess I learned in high school. I was pretty shy about things in the classroom. I wouldn't stand up and do things in front of the class, and a teacher found out if they made me mad, made me angry, got to something I believed or whatever, then I would speak and it talked me into being on a debate club. And the next thing you know, I'm in theater, and here I am today, going out and speaking all over the place. So uh, I always look back and think that teacher really did something for me when they challenged me that way. Took me to it. I've been in, like I say, I've been in a lot of plays and things. I'm not a singer, but I was actor. I did a lot of civic theaters, and college I did a lot of theater. So I guess that's the way it transitions through life.
Well, and that's why I wanted to always know what the little boy was like, right? Because you got challenged, and you became on the debate club, and it also brought you into your adulthood, how you were able to stand up for yourself, and you know. But like we were saying before we went live, is you changed a lot through your grief and through the process of your losses
Yes,
and that.
yes.
So I want to get into that a little bit, Tom. I want to get into how grief really changed you because people out there they think, oh, you lost somebody, get over it, right? grief
Right,
is not
right,
grief
right.
doesn't work that way.
No, it
So,
doesn't. No, it doesn't.
so how did your grief change you?
Well, I guess I should start with the fact that so you understand a little bit where I'm coming from with this. My wife had breast cancer in 2003 and 2004, and both times she had a mastectomy. And she was a strong woman. She went through that. I don't want to say without any problems, but she went very strong. She went through it. She battled it. She did everything that you wanted to do, even though she was going through the treatments, the chemo, and the radiation. She didn't miss a dinner party or anything. Uh, so, and then in 2004, after the 2004 episode, she was cancer free until 2017. So we had, I guess, what, 13 years there that we did a lot of things, knowing that it's still there, the cancer's still there, but it's so. In 2017, it came back in the chest wall, and the doctor gave her 6 months. and she lived 2 years. That's how strong she was. But the she had a tube in her chest that we had to drain, and she was going through some chemos and some radiations. And but for about a year and a half, she was pretty good. We kept doing things that we wanted to do. The last 3 or 4 months were not good. We went to the hospital, and this was in July um, of 2018. Or excuse me, 2019. And we were having trouble with the drainage in the chest tube and everything, and we were going in for a radiation treatment. The doctor said, "Well, let's admit you here and let's take care of that chest tube thing." Well, that was a Monday. Well, Tuesday it was Plan A, Wednesday it was Plan B, Thursday it was Plan C, Friday it was what are we going to do? Saturday morning she looked at me and she said, "Tom, I'm done. I just want to go into hospice. I don't want any more chemo, any more radiation, any more poking and prodding, any more pills. I just want peace. I just want to rest." And so that Monday, in fact, I came home that weekend and cleaned the whole house. Everything was going to be because I thought hospice was going to be. I get back on that Monday, and the nurse comes in and says, "Well, Mrs. Rose," she said, "you have two choices. You may stay here in the hospital for your hospice because it's not going to be a long time." They were very honest about that, and or you can go home. And she said, "I want to stay in the hospital." That was like stab me in the chest. I didn't understand. I thought she'd want to come home and be with me, and I do understand now she did it for me, so I didn't have to do anything. The hospital did it all. But she was in hospice for 3 weeks. 3 weeks she didn't have anything but water and pain pills. I was there 24/7. My kids would come and relieve me for an hour or so in the afternoon, but basically I was there 24/7. All I could do was hold her hand. I couldn't watch TV. I couldn't read. Couldn't listen to music. All I could do is hold her hand and think. Now, when this happens, you begin to discover things about yourself that maybe you don't like. You begin to question your beliefs. You start thinking about your life and what you did and what you didn't do, and all these things race through your brain all the time. Again, like I say, 15, 16 hours a day. So after her death, which she died on a Monday, the Thursday before that. Now, again, remember she's been there for almost 3 weeks. Um, Only pain pills, maybe a little water. And my granddaughter is a very accomplished singer. In fact, she graduated from college in theater arts. My wife had said, "Oh, I'm going to miss hearing Amanda sing." And I had said something to her, and Amanda came that evening, that Thursday evening. I went home to change clothes, do everything. Amanda came and sang for her grandmother. I guess she put a show on for the whole wing of the hospital. They were all crying. I don't know how many songs she did. But anyway, that night I get back and everybody leaves. And my wife sits up in bed and she's very lucid. And she looks at me and she points her finger at me and she said, "We have to talk." I went, "Oh, when my wife said we have to talk, right?" So she tells me that she doesn't want videos and she doesn't want all the pictures at the funeral home. And we have already agreed it's a closed casket. She wants people to remember the way she looked, not the way she looks now. And she took my hand and she looked at me and she said, "I love you. I'll see you in church." And that's the last thing she said to me. She went to sleep, and the weekend and Monday she passed away. Now, when I'm doing my speaking engagements, I always ask women if they can say a sentence without a command at the end. Your husband gets home from work, you say, "Hi, God, how was your day? Oh, by the way, would you take out the garbage and check my right front tire of my car? We're in the garage. I think it's low on air." My wife did that to me. See, she sang me right at the end. She knew what she was doing. She smiled when she said it. "I will see you in church." I have to go to church because my wife told me I had to go to church. So when you back to what you said, I kind of thought my grief started that Saturday when she said I wanted to go into hospice. And so that whole 3 weeks uh, was the beginning of my grief, I thought, until she actually died. And it all changed because it was It was, she's never going to be here again. While she was in hospice, I mean, I would go home and I would come back and she'd be there. Uh, I'd fall asleep at night in that chair in the room, and I'd wake up and she was there. Her hand was still holding my hand. But that Monday, she was gone. The nurse, in fact, said, "Well, Mr. Rose, you can stay in the room as long as you want." I said, "No, she's not here. She's gone." So that's when the grief starts. Now that first week, you're so busy. That was Monday. It was go to funeral home on Tuesday, and then have the visitation on Thursday, and then the funeral on Friday. So you're just everything's happening fast. Um, the visitation, we had 460 people come.
Wow.
Uh, then the funeral on that Friday. Funeral was in the morning. Have the typical church lunch afterwards. A lot of my friends came back to my house here. We sat out on my deck. I'm sure we drank a few bottles of wine. We talked, we told stories, and all of a sudden it was 9 o'clock, and everyone was gone, and I had to walk back in this house, and I didn't want to come back in here because I knew she wasn't here, but I did it. That Saturday, Sunday was kind of remember or don't remember, but that's when my real grief started because for the next 3 months I was in misery. I was terrible. Didn't think I was going to survive. Didn't know what I was going to do. No, I hid it from people. Uh, um, Maybe not my family, but most people I hid it from. I went to church because she told me I go to church. If I kicked God out of my life, I said, "You didn't do what I asked you to get out of my life." But I'd go to church and I'd get the little prayer hands and I'd sit there and I did the pity thing, okay? I'd say, "Oh, no," the people look, "Oh, there's Tom Rose. He lost his wife. I feel sorry for him." I ate that up. Finally, one night, again, it was she died in August. This was in November. I'd gone through 3 months of this. I hadn't cried. I hadn't done a lot of things that they say you're going to do. I was sitting there, and if you could see our house, it's an open concept. There's a bar thing. The kitchen's on one side, the living room on the other, the dining area over here. And so it's all big open thing. And there's three bar stools. That's where we sat for dinner every evening. And you mentioned it earlier. We both like to cook. So if whose ever turn it was would be in the kitchen. The other person would be sitting at the counter. We'd have our glass of wine. And that was our time. That 2 hours from 5 to 7 every evening was the time we talked about our day, whatever. But anyway, so this evening I'm doing my dinner by myself. It's November. It's cold. I remember snowing, raining, sleeting, crummy weather. I've got Frank Sinatra on the stereo. I've got the fireplace going. I've got this. I mean, I got this mood all set up to be terrible, right there. And so I have my glass of wine at dinner, and I eat my dinner and have my glass of wine with my dinner, and then I look at the bottle, and there's not so much in it. And I pour it in and say, "You'd waste not, want not." But then I get up to walk over, I think to change the record, and I caught my foot on the bar stool, and I fall on the floor, right on the carpet, fortunately. And I remember sitting there, laying there, thinking, "My God, what will my wife think of me?" First thing was, we mentioned earlier, she always say, "It is what it is. Put on your big boy pants and deal with it." And I'm thinking, well, what would she think about me right now laying here? She would be so ashamed of me. And I hadn't cried. I really had not cried. Maybe a little tear at this funeral, but I had not cried. I sat down that night in my little easy chair and I cried and I cried and it was buckets. I was wringing wet right down to my socks. I remember going to bed and thinking, "Man, it's going to be terrible in the morning." Now, that whole 3 months, everything was black and white to me. I got up that next morning, and there was color. I looked out the window. It was a beautiful day. I thought, I've got to do this. I've got to handle grief. I've got to, I just kind of put up my fist. I said, "Okay, come on, grief. I'm ready for you. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to handle you." And I guess I call that my epiphany that night. Okay. That it changed everything for me. I suddenly knew that I had to do it. And you said it earlier. I had to do it. Nobody else could do it. You can't, you can't fix grief. All I tell everybody is, hey, you can't fix it. Just listen to the person. That's all they need. Just let them talk, which I'm doing now, right? So, so that started uh, the whole change in me. Um, all those things I thought about those 3 weeks, just thinking, all came back. Um, someone had told me one time that grief is like a ball in a box. It bounces around, and when it hits the side or something, a memory comes back. What you don't want it to do is hit a corner and have three things going on at once because you can't handle it.
Yeah.
And I said, nah, it's a little more like a balloon in a box. It's the balloon behind me. If you take that balloon by the string and you want to move it over here, sometimes it stays here. And sometimes when you want it here, it moves over here. So it's a little bit more difficult to control. And a lady told me, she said one time, she said, well, Tom, she said, why don't you just let go of that balloon? Then you won't have any problems. I said, ma'am, I said, all my memories are in that balloon. Everything, my whole, all our memories are in that. I don't want to let those go. I want to keep them. So that's my crutch. That's my thing. It's the balloon. The balloon's here with me now. When I'm at home, I let the balloon go because it can bounce around, and if it brings back a memory and I cry, I cry. I don't want to cry in the grocery store, so I try to control the balloon when I'm in the grocery store. I don't want to start laughing about something I remember in the. People think I'm crazy. I've got that balloon. So that's my thing.
I really loved a balloon. I never thought of grief that way. And it's true, a balloon is hard to control sometimes.
Oh yeah. The balloon's affected by everything of the environment around it. A ball, you can, you know, but a balloon, if it, with a little breeze, it's gonna move.
Yeah,
So
and sometimes when you release it, you just don't know where it's gonna go, right? Or where it's gonna land.
yeah, yeah. So what I learned was what I have learned. Uh, uh, when I wrote the first book, I self-published it. The second book here is the first book, just with some revisions, some updates. And one of my update things is when I first talked about it, I said, well, as time goes on, the balloon gets a little smaller. What I've really learned is that's not true. The box just gets bigger. The balloon doesn't get any smaller because it's got everything in it. The box just gets a little bigger. So you are able to control it a little better. The longer you go, the bigger that box gets. So the more you're able to control a balloon, the more you learn to control a balloon. But I know that balloon's with me the rest of my life. That box is there the rest of my life. Grief is not going to go away. Uh, it, it, you can't be with somebody for 58 years and not have when that's most of your life, the majority of your life, and that person's gone. You can't just push it aside. It's not something you say, okay, well, I did this, but I can push that. You can't do that.
Yeah.
uh, and if you try to do that, then it's going to make it worse because it's going to come back and it's going to. So this way, I'm not surprised. I'm not shocked when something comes back, when something hits me. Uh, I'm kind of ready for it. I can handle it. Um, I tell the story. The That first Thanksgiving, which was about 2 or 3 weeks after my epiphany. Okay, uh, we always had Thanksgiving at our house. The kids always come in. Our house was bigger and everything. Uh, so kids said to me, he said, "Hey, Dad, you just do the turkey like you always do, and we're going to bring everything else. My granddaughter and her husband, my son and daughter-in-law. Actually, we're having some friends with them. So I'm in my kitchen. Now you're going to say, please don't think badly of me, but you're going to think I'm standing at that my butcher block, got my glass of wine sitting up on the bar, okay, and I've got that bird there, and I'm stuffing that bird with the fruit and herbs and everything I did." And I put the string and tie the legs. I need a finger to hold that so I can finish that knot. She's not there. She's not there to put the finger on that knot. And I start crying and I start laughing because that was always our joke. She'd put her finger there and say, who did this when you tied your Eagle Scout knots? My wife was a brunette, big brown eyes. I think I said one time I was a cute little blonde, blue-eyed blonde. I think I got a dish right side of the head, uh, but that was our life. Um, I tell people, I make people in my talk, in my speeches, uh, I make everybody say, I love you. I say, I want everybody now to say, I love you. And when they're done, I say, don't forget to keep saying that. Um, I don't know that I said it enough or she said it enough. I think you assume, you love each other, um, but you don't say it enough. You don't say it often enough. And one of the things I stressed over in that grief period of time was the things we didn't do, all the things we planned to do. We wanted to do this, we wanted to do that, well, we didn't do them. Finally, one time I thought, no, wait a minute, stop. You were married for 58 years almost. You did a lot of things. So think about the things you did do, not what you didn't do.
Yeah.
Uh, However, that discovering, when I said discovering that things about you maybe you don't like, everybody's selfish to a certain extent. In fact, you have to be. There's a certain amount. You have to be
We all
selfish.
have that selfish side to us.
And you have to have that to protect yourself. So. But I remember thinking, I was sitting there holding her hand in the hospital, and I'm thinking, I remember last fall, she came, walked in the TV room on a Sunday afternoon, beautiful October afternoon. I'm watching the football game. She said, we live, the cemetery's actually behind us. Nice place to walk. Golf course on one side, cemetery on the other. And they're both nice places to walk. And she said, I'm going for a walk in the cemetery. You want to go with me? I said, no, I want to watch the Bears play football. Well, the Bears are probably going to lose anyhow. I should have gone on the walk. That's the one thing that keeps coming up. I regret every time I'm sitting there. I look out and I see it nice, and I walk in the cemetery. I think wish I'd have gone on that one walk. I wish I'd have gone that time, because the next October she wasn't there. So,
Yeah.
but it's but but at this point, after 4 years, I'm a happy person. I'm a happy person because of the 58 years I had with her. Because of her, I'm a happy person. Uh, yes, I miss her. Yes, I wish she was here. Yes, I still go through my moments. Uh, you know, sit down to have my dinner by myself, and maybe I get a little tear. Sometimes I start laughing because I'll think of something we did or we didn't do or whatever. Uh, but overall, I'm a happy person. I'm moving on with my life. Um, I, I'm doing something. This is by accident with the book. Speaking to people about grief, like 80 speeches so far. People coming up and saying, "Oh my God, you help me," or this or that or that. Emails that I get, stories that I get. Uh, so I know I'm helping. And in fact, I wrote in the book, if I helped one other person because it helped me, then the book was a success. Well, I know at this point, after almost 17 months, I guess, that I've helped people and I continue to help people. So that has become my quest, my ministry, so to speak. This is what I want to do. I now know what he wants me to do. Um, I I run into so many people. Am I speaking things that say, "Oh, you're not doing anything"? Oh, my wife died, my husband died. I just sit there. I say, no. You've got to, you've got to move forward. I do not want to be the one that goes and stands in front of my maker and say, "Hey, you gave me 10 years or 5 years or 20 years, whatever it is after that event, and I didn't do anything with it." I'm going to be able to, I think, face him and say, "Hey, I did what I think you wanted me to do, sir. I did
But
it.
I think I got it.
Yeah, I think I got the message. Uh, so that's my life now.
So, Tom, and all the listening audience out there that's listening now and that will listen later, grief is hard. Grief does come with a lot of lessons, and it does teach us a lot. It does teach us to live in a different way. And sometimes it actually changes us in the way that we should have been. You know what I mean? And I hate
Mm,
using that word should, because I know, as somebody who has gone through grief, should is not something that we should be doing on anybody. But it actually opens up doors and avenues that we might have not ever looked at had we not lost that person, you
correct.
know?
Correct.
And that's why I asked you that question: how has grief changed you? And grief has changed you to open up that avenue of sharing. Maybe you were that person that wasn't sharing, that tough ego that was, I got this, you know what it is. And your wife,
Yeah.
it is what it is. I use that saying a lot myself. It is what it is. And I always get told, stop saying that. And I'm like, you know what, guys? It is what it is. We just got to deal with it. You know,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
it's not going to go anywhere until we deal with it.
And well, all I hope is maybe somebody reads my book, or I give a little speaking presentation. I can't change their grief. I can't make it go away. But what I can maybe do is make that journey a little smoother. Maybe I can take a few of the bumps out of the road or a few of the potholes, so their grief journey is a little smoother. That's all I can do. That's
Yeah.
all and part of the reason part of the reason I ended up writing the book, and I don't mean to demean these people, okay, but I went online looking for help. The help I got wasn't really help. When they tell you, well, you're going to go through these five things, well, no, and not in that order, and maybe never, some of them. And you need to it's got to go this way, this way, this way. You can't put it, so to speak, in a box. You can't, because it's different for everybody. Your experience, my experience, it's all different.
Yep.
Everybody I talk to, and he's speaking things, they're going through grief like I'm going through, but their journey is different than mine because of the lives they lived before, because of the relationship, whatever it is, theirs is different. Personality, my personality and somebody else's personality having the same experience is going to be different. You're going to handle it different. So, I, so that's what I try to say. I try to say all I can do is maybe take a few of the bumps out. And I always tell people, just remember, you can't fix it. Just listen to them.
Yeah.
Just listen to the griever. That's what they need. There's somebody said, I don't know the quote exactly right, but said the griever needs three things. They need to find the words, say the words, and know the words been heard. I had that opportunity when I wrote the book. When I give a speech, people allow me to do that. There's one problem that occurs with me, though, and you have to think about this a little bit. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but I think people have to understand every time I give one of these speeches, things, I relive things. I relive part of that grief that maybe I would be past now if I didn't keep repeating it. It repeated 80 times. I repeat my story 80 times about being miserable for 3 months, okay? And about my epiphany. And it all comes back to me. I get in the car to go home. My son drives with me usually. In fact, he does my introduction. And I'm exhausted. Maybe only speaking for 45 minutes, but I'm tired because all those things have come out of me again, all those emotions. So that's the difficult part of it. But I want to take it away. I'll take that. I'll take that difficult because I love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I had a woman um, about 3 weeks ago. I think it was in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Oh, wherever. She came up to me afterwards and she said, "Mr. Rose, can I give you a hug?" I said, "Well, sure. I take hugs from ladies all the time." And she hugged me and she said, "Thank you. You got me out of my dark period." And there was a friend standing with her. She said, "You did. This is the first time I've seen her smile." And I said to the lady, I said, "Well, wonderful." I said, I'm glad. How long's it been?" And she said, 12 years.
Wow.
I said, "No way. I could have been like I was for 12 years." Uh, so those are the kind of stories we get, all the time. One
Yeah.
of my, one of my best stories is last August, a year ago in August. I got a call one evening and the answer was a young man. He said, "Mr. Rose, I just read your book." I said, "Oh, thank you." He said, "Oh, you don't understand." He said, "I'm a senior in college. I have a serious relationship with a woman. We think we're going to get married. Last night, or the other night at dinner, I asked my mother, 'How do I know I'm in love?' And she had my book because her husband died, I guess. And he says, 'She gave me your book.' And I said, "Oh, I guess I wrote a love story." Now, sidebar to that is this last June I got a wedding invitation from them.
Oh,
they,
wow.
they got married on the East Coast, so I couldn't go. But at least I could send them a cookbook and my novel was a gift. But anyway, those are the kind of things that happen to you, and they kind of they kind of affect you. I think I dropped a little tear that night too, sitting here afterwards, thinking, oh, prison did that to me too. We're going to speak to. There were 12 of them, young men in a drug rehab program, and it's a school thing. They live in the same ward. They have classes every day. And the gal that was running the program said, "Mr. Rose, I want you to come speak. Then I'm going to give them your book. They're to read the book, and then you're supposed to come back." And they were supposed to have questions for you, which I did. But it was hot. Again, it was in a hot August day. They uh, they all gave me a big hug. I went out to my car and I opened up my car. And I sat there in the seat. I cried. It got me. I couldn't, In fact, some lady walked by and wanted to know if I was okay. I said, "Yeah, yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine." But those are the kind of things that are happening to me over this period of time too. So, but that's it. That's where I am.
Well, and by sharing your story, Tom, you've met people that you probably never would have met had it not been for the loss.
No, that's right. That's
You know,
true.
and
Yeah.
and I think that's the message that he gives us, right? Is that he's going to put people in front of us that we would have never seen had it not been for our loss.
Well, that's a little bit about my. I hear people say, "Well, God did this and God did that and God did this." I think God gives you opportunities. He puts them in front of you. He gave us a free will, so it's our decision to take advantage of them. Sure, maybe He knows how dumb we are and we won't take advantage of it, but He puts it there anyhow.
Yep.
Um, because we have that free will to do that, to make that decision, and then we have to live with those decisions we make in life. So
Yeah.
I told those guys in the prison we talk about it that way. Hey, you guys made a dumb choice, right? In fact, their questions when I went back that time were so intelligent and intellectual. I said, "Hey, wait a minute, stop. What the heck are you guys doing here? Your questions are very intelligent, very intellectual." And all of them said, "Well, we screwed up our lives, Mr. Rose. We're not going to do it again." But the other thing is, they were most of them were on drugs because of some grief. They lost a parent, they lost a wife, they lost a girlfriend, they lost a family, and that pushed them over the edge.
Yeah.
Which I guess, looking back on my sitting there drinking the wine that night, I could have gone the next day and bought a bottle of whiskey and turned into an alcoholic. I don't know. Uh, I
Yeah.
made the decision to do. And it probably would have been easy to have done that and still been in my miserable state. 4 years later. I don't know.
So, Tom, I think it's a good time to ask you for your T. If I ask
Okay,
you what 3 words are, what 3 words would you give me for the TEA?
time, my time that I had with my wife, everlasting, the everlasting love, because I still love her. In fact, my love continues to grow for her. And action, the actions that I'm taking, moving forward, hopefully helping people, remembering her, taking her with me, not leaving her behind, but action moving forward. That's that.
I love that you put that everlasting love because, like you said, that the young man who invited you to his wedding, you said maybe I wrote a love story. Maybe the balloon in the box was a love story. It was
Well,
your love story to share with the world.
well, if you think about it, it is because grief is love. Without love, there is no grief. So it is that. And in fact, in the Bible, I think there are four kinds of love. The Greeks have six, and both of them have one called pragma. And pragma is continuing love, a love that continues to grow. Now, when you're married and the husband leaves his underwear on the bathroom floor and doesn't hang up the towel, leaves it there. The wife gets upset with him, and then he's upset with her for being upset with him, and that love doesn't continue to grow at that time. But now that Joyce is not with me here, I can't screw up like that. So my love for her continues to grow. In fact, I tell people I love her more now than I did 4 or 5 years ago, just because of that. Because it's just allowed to. I don't get upset with her,
Yeah.
and she doesn't get upset with me. So it just continues to grow. So yeah, Balloon in the Box was a love story.
So I want to get into the cooking
Okay,
together, because cooking does bring people together. So how
correct.
did you come up with that name, Cooking
Oh
Together?
God, you ask these tough questions. It's
I
not
know
tough.
I'm such a hardball,
No,
right?
no,
I'm just like,
no,
oh, Miss Liz, like give the man a break.
no. It's not a tough way. It's just a detailed story. Okay. I like to cook. On the weekends, I would cook. Work I did, and we would do it together, she and I. But uh, one Christmas, my sister sent me a walk. In that February, I got the box out and I read the book, and so I start cooking with a walk. Well, we had some friends, another couple, and he liked to cook, and he was good, and then his wife, and we would go to each other's house for dinner. And so I had them over for Chinese. And he thought, oh, this is cool. He said, I'm going to get me a wok. So he got a wok and he's doing, and then we're exchanging things back and forth. Hey, I did this. Hey, I did that. Uh, there's a local college here, Goshen College. That's a small religious college. And there was an advertisement in the paper that some gal there was teaching a Chinese cooking class, probably as part of her. I think she was probably, I don't think they call them home ec now, but whatever, home ec teacher anyway. And she's part of her class. So she's teaching this class. So he and I decide to go. And it was like 3 weeks, and we went to it for 3 weeks. And shortly after that, we were out to dinner with our wives, and one of them said, "Hey, you guys never say anything about your Chinese cooking class." And we said, "Well, that was okay, but we could have probably done better." Mistake, because his wife was with the was the director at the YWCA. And a week later, we're out to dinner, and she says, "Oh, by the way, in 2 weeks, you guys are teaching a Chinese cooking class at the Y." We said, "What?" She said, "Yeah, you were so smart. You think you can do it? Do it." So I said, "Okay, we've been challenged. Let's do it." So we did it. Everybody loved it. They wanted us to do it again. He and I did it about 3 times that year and 2 times the next year. 5 or 6 times he and I did it. And then he retires and moves to Florida. Well, the Y kept calling and say, "Would you come do this class?" And I said, "I don't do it by myself." Now, my wife is not one who wanted to stand on the stage, okay, or be a speaker, or do what I'm doing now. No way. Finally, I said, "Honey, please, they want me to do it. I should do it. Will you help me with it?" I said, "You don't even have to talk. I'll talk. Just be there and on." "Oh, okay, I'll do it." So we did it. We did it for about 10 years.
Oh,
And as a result, what happened was my son, we're an advertising marketing business. My son knew one of the people at the Fox affiliate and mentioned that that people said we needed to write a cookbook. So we wrote a book, and then we got the book, and he said, got on TV on the morning show to bring our book and cook a little recipe. So we went, and we did it and sat with the people that the hostess of the show, and we had a good time. When we left and got home, there was a phone call from the producer and said, "Would you come back once a month?" And I said, my wife, she said, "Oh, okay. It was kind of fun. Okay, we'll go." Well, we went back 2 weeks later, and then after that, we went every week for 13 years. So now we knew we couldn't just cook Chinese for 13 years. So we just started doing all kinds of things, um, and wrote 2 cookbooks from it. Well, we had written a cookbook, Chinese cookbook. We wrote a cookbook called Quick and Easy because those are the type of recipes that we kind of filtered towards because we were on at 7:30 in the morning, and so it was young mothers and housewives, and and they needed family things. So actually, we did some more complicated. Most of our recipes were pretty simple and easy and quick. And so we wrote that cookbook. And then, like you said, when my wife died, I was going through stuff here. I found it must have been 1,000 recipes. that we collected and been doing over the last 15 years. We stopped doing the TV in 2004, so it was 13 years, I guess. And so I thought, I had them all stacked on my desk, and my son came in, so what are those? And I told him, he said, oh, yeah, I ought to do another cookbook. So we did. He and I helped me, and my granddaughter helped me. My granddaughter and he, we do a YouTube thing called Cooking Together Generations now, where the three of us just cook in my kitchen. Whatever happens, happens. We just have fun, family together cooking. We do about 6 or 8 episodes at a time, and then put them on YouTube, and then don't do anything for a while, and then do some more. So that's kind of fun too. But so that's the cooking experience. Again, by accident, totally by accident. Everything in my life is
Well,
by accident. I know.
and I really love the name Cooking Together Generations because we need to keep the generations together. We need to keep
Exactly.
putting that story out there so that when we're gone, there is a story to still tell.
Yeah, I think my granddaughter will have some great, great, great memories of her grandmother and her grandfather and her father. We did Labor Day. We did a big family cooking thing, so we smoked a pork shoulder and pulled pork, and somebody's doing beans, and somebody's doing this exotic salad, and my granddaughter's making fancy drinks, and it was just a family day. A couple of neighbors came over, and we love to cook that way. I have an outside kitchen, so everything was being done outside. I have a microwave, refrigerator, burners, smokers, grills, griddles, everything out there.
So you know
Uh,
where to go when you want something to eat outside.
that's right. So we do that. But yeah, again, that's what back to that thing I said earlier. I understand that what life is now. It's pretty simple. It's just moments and experiences that become memories. And I every day new memory. This last Sunday's a memory that was created. Uh, I had a memory created when I spoke at that theater. I mean, what a thrill for a guy 82 years old to stand on a stage where, when 12 years old, he was going to the movies there, stand on a stage in front of 300 people, have 300 people applaud when he's done. What a thrill. My other one like that was we went back to Peru, Indiana, to the Catholic church there to speak. And I got to speak in that church. I almost couldn't do it when I started out. I had this big frog in my throat. And I'm looking around and I'm like, wait a minute. You were a 12-year-old altar boy here. And now here you are standing in this church speaking to all these people sitting out there. Uh, so those kind of things. Yeah. And again, that's in my balloon now. That's in my balloon. Uh, yeah, I take that with me. So,
So I want to get, John. I want to get. We're almost at the end here.
yeah.
Time is just flying by. Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
balloon. The balloon is
Blue
all
is
like.
blue. I'm sorry. I'm long winded.
No, no, no. That's
You
all
shouldn't
good.
ask me the question. See, you got in trouble. The minute you asked me the question, you were done.
But I want to get into the mystery
Oh,
because we have
okay.
grief and we also have mystery. So how
Okay.
did you get into the mystery side of
Well,
things?
you see, you write the blue in the box, and you write the cookbook. Well, cookbooks are not that difficult. But anyway, so you write the balloon in the box, and then everybody's telling you how good it is. And, oh my God, you start to get cocky. Okay, which we learned earlier. I was, and you think, hey, I can write a novel. Now, I told you I didn't pay attention in English class when I was in high school, nor when I was in college. Now, all of a sudden, I'm writing a novel. And I got these stories in my brain that I've never tried to do that before. I wrote a play when I was in college. That's the closest thing I ever did to writing anything. So anyway, it's cold, miserable weather, and I figured, what the heck, write a book. So I wrote the book. It's The Secrets in the Pasta. It's a murder mystery. It takes place in an Italian restaurant. Um, the interesting thing about writing a book like that, you have to create characters. And the only characters you know are your friends and the people you're acquainted. I mean, you could become a character. See, I know you now. I know stuff. You told me some of the stuff before we went on about your life. So,
Uh oh.
yeah, yeah. Well, I wouldn't use your name, and you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it was you. You wouldn't know it was you. But you put those things in there. Uh, Interesting as you it's written in the first person. The detective, it's been first person. Uh, And so it's very obvious to my friends that he is me. uh, he is me a heck of a lot younger. Uh, he loses his wife in an automobile, hit and run automobile accident, not cancer. But so now I can take my experiences, my feelings, and put him in this character. He's not. See, that's the other thing. The outline of the story, the creating story, is nothing to it. All right. I mean, I knew this was going to happen. This was going to happen. Here's where it's going to end. It's writing all those characters, creating those characters, making them real people, not just a name. You know,
Yeah.
well, you see that on television. They take a character and he's not just a detective, but he has his strengths and his weaknesses. I mean, I think if you're a good writer, you don't. My detective is not Superman because I'm not Superman. So he has his strength and he has his weaknesses. Everybody in the book has those things, you know. Um, so it was fun. Uh, I wrote it and I sent it to this publisher, and he said, "Yeah, we like it. Take it." So there it is. It's not a long. It's just barely a novel. I mean, by the number of words, I think 60,000 words is something which you have to be considered a novel. I think this is probably 60,250 or something like that. But it's a short, it's an easy read. Um, I'm probably working on a sequel. I don't know. I got it. It's up here. I haven't put anything down yet, but sometime I'll write it. You know,
Oh,
because
and
it's open at the end. The detectives. I mean, the story. All those characters are there at the end. They're all still moving forward, but you just don't know where. So I think I can take them wherever.
well, and you're always meeting new people, so you have new characters, right?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And you mix characters together. Okay. But that was the fun part, was to say, uh, okay, I have Tony as a detective now. Tony, easy, okay, but then I have a priest in it, and the priest is probably a combination of three priests that I've known to be our friends, not just priests but friends. Uh, there's a there's a love story in it that's kind of starting, but it's not happening, but it is. It's kind of just there. We're not sure, Uh, the gal's divorced gal. Um, the man that was killed uh, did did a bad thing. Ended up uh, paying for it with his life. Was a good guy. Uh, he just did something he shouldn't have done, and he ended up dying. We have the Italian family in there, which typical Italian family. They're all uh, the guy in the restaurant and Tony are friends, and his wife and his two daughters and his brother, and so it's but again, to create those people, and the guy probably doesn't even know it. The Italian restaurant is where I go. It's partly his family, because I knew about some of his family. His father was the old man of the old Italian guy. You got to have him in there. Unfortunately, he passed away. So in this book, he's not there, but he is. Things he said, things he believed in are there, but he's no longer there. Uh, that affect the family. So it's fun to doing those things.
So
And
Tom, how did you get that title, the secrets in the pasta?
well, if I told you, then I'd give the book away.
Oh my goodness!
I'd give the end of the story away.
So we're not gonna find out what the secret
No,
is.
you're not.
You got to go out and get the book.
You gotta buy the book. Yeah, gotta buy. I do that with Balloon in a Box. I tell people that you what I do is with people when I'm in a grief group at church, or and when new people come and they're kind of quiet, they just sit. Especially if they've lost a spouse, I will say to them, "Tell me about your first date," and they always smile because that's a pleasant experience. And so, in my book, I tell everybody about my first date. I will tell you a little snippet of my first date. On my first date, six people in the car, okay, coming from a movie and pizza. My wife suddenly says, "Unzip my dress." So I'll leave it there. If you want to know the rest of the story, you gotta
That's where
buy
the secret in the
you gotta buy
pasta is.
yeah, no, you gotta buy a balloon in a box, and you'll find out the rest of that story. Now make up what you want to make up, but you won't make it up right, I promise.
So, Tom, if anybody would like to get your books, where can they get your books?
The books, both the books, Balloon in a Box and The Secret in the Pasta, are on Amazon. They're also on my website. The cookbook is on my website. It's not on Amazon. Uh, yeah, I think you've got my website there. Go on my website. My email address is there. My phone number is there if you want to pick up the phone call. If you want to talk about grief, if I if you think, hey, maybe if I talk to this strange weird guy that was on on, on Liz's, maybe he can help me with grief, or maybe he would just listen to me. Since he doesn't really know me personally, maybe it would be easier for me to tell him things. Hey, call me. I'll sit here and listen to you. I love it. I've had a lot of phone calls like that. So uh, I put two gentlemen together who'd lost their wives, both struggling, uh, talked to me, and I said, "Well, I'd like to." So I had the three of us have coffee, and I conveniently had to leave for a meeting. I left two of them together. This was about 3 months ago. I understand they're good friends now. They're going to baseball games together and doing stuff. So I did something there. I think I helped them both because I gave them each a friend and a friend that was going through the same thing, and they can talk together and share. And that's what they tell me. Oh, we share it all now. We tell all those stories about my wife did this and I did that, and she did this and we did that. So uh, that's the kind of thing I guess I can do. So I love
Awesome.
it, love
So,
it.
Tom, what's your final message for the listening audience out there?
I guess the thing about grief, which like I said is my mission now, my quest. Uh, if you know somebody's grieving, don't try to fix it. Don't try to help because you can't help. The way you can help is simply listen to them. Let them talk. Let them talk. Don't say things like people said to me, like one lady came to me and said, "Well, I know a guy that lost his wife, and a month later he lost both his parents in an automobile accident." I wanted to say, I don't care. I don't care what happened to him. I care what happened to me. That doesn't help me any better to know that somebody lost three people in a month and I only lost one. So I guess I'm supposed to be thankful. No, you can't do that. Things that people say at funeral homes are tough too. Don't say God needed her up there more than you needed her down here. Because what I want to say is, hey, God's got a whole bunch of people. I just wanted one. Come on, God, share. So that's the worst thing I think is I hate to. I know now to just say I love you. I guess that's my other message. When I go to the funeral home and I see somebody, I just put my arm around them and say, hey, I love you. Because when you say I love you, that says I'm here for you. I'll do for you. I feel sorry. All of it's said in that one little phrase. I love you. Maybe you don't even have to say that. Maybe you just have to give them a hug, and then they know. So I guess those are two messages.
Well,
You know,
thank you so
if the
much,
if
Tom.
the griever just listen to them and don't forget to say I love you and thank you. And like I say, call me, text me, you know, email me, whatever, folks. I'm here.
Well, thank you so much, Tom. And I am big on just listen, stop trying to give the advice. We just want you to listen when we're grieving. It goes so much further than you realize if
Yep.
you just listen. So, Tom, thank you so much for sharing your beautiful love story, your beautiful books with us today on Tea Time, and sharing your incredible tea because your tea is incredible. Time, everlasting love, and action. It's a strong cup of tea that he spills and he flows it well. So, Tom, thank you so much for that. And
Thank you, Liz.
thank you to all the listening audience out there. If you'd like to know more about Miss Liz's Tea Times, check out my website at www.misslizsteatime.com. If you'd like to be a guest in 2024, reach out to me as well. We will be seeing you all back at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today and at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There are two more guests that are coming up this afternoon. We have Andrea Lee Austin coming in, and she'll be talking about my conscious wellness, and then we're finishing up with Money Wise with Kaylee Brosvert. This Liz's tongue is always a twist in here. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Tea Time, because I could not do this without you guys. So thank you, and I'll see everybody this afternoon for the second Tea Time of this week.